Hey everybody, Maxwell McGee and Peter Brown here at GDC Europe 2013, where we just got done listening to a fascinating talk by David Cage, sort of about his dream and Quantic Dream's vision for sort of the future of gaming and game making and how they're sort of approaching it. Peter, why don't you go ahead and start us off with sort of what were Cage's like top level points? Sort of remember in the beginning of the presentation when he was talking about what he sees as being the next big thing for gaming in the coming generation.
Well, the biggest point that he made, which sort of ties back to what Quantic Dream does best, is sort of the merging of cinema and video games. Cage sort of discussed that it's not wrong to sort of take inspiration from cinema because every art form has always taken inspiration from ones that preceded it. So what you have left is, if you just put cinematography into a game, you also have to have an interactive experience. Now, for Quantic Dream, it's very important to advance technology because until we can get to the point where something is photorealistic and sort of have an emotional impact, you have to have the tech there. So like Pixar, they like to prototype different technology, and they've done that before Heavy Rain with something called the casting, and then Kara was sort of an Android production that they made to sort of lead up to Beyond for the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, emotion and sort of building meaning into their games is something that Cage reinforced sort of over and over and over again during the talk. He was going on about how for him and sort of his vision with Quantic Dream, that was going to be the next big advancement going into this generation. It wasn't just going to be throwing more pixels at a screen or having better graphics and better sound. Like, we've already got a pretty strong handle on that. The next thing that's really going to sort of help bring in a larger audience and build sort of more engagement around gaming is going to be having these messages and these deeper meanings in your games that are going to affect people on an emotional level.
Yeah, and I think it's most important that when we're conveying, drawing emotion out of a medium such as video games, we're looking at humans, and that's sort of what we relate to. In the past, you would have a few artists, a motion capture guy. You'd have 3 or 4 people involved in the creation of one character. What Quantic Dream has done is they've developed a system for performance capture, where someone like Willem Dafoe or Ellen Page, they get suited up in the sort of dotted little outfits that you've seen before in behind-the-scenes documentaries, and they're using that to have a single person, an actor, do the entire job of conveying the emotion. And it's only now that Quantic Dream has sort of developed the technology to make that happen.
Yeah, that was sort of the second half of David's talk, was sort of going through the more technical process of how they go about suiting up and filming these actors. And one of the things I thought was kind of interesting is once they have the actors suited up and they have them in a room full of like 360 degrees of cameras and everything, just like capturing every aspect of what they're doing, they then go in and the challenge becomes, how do we take this massive amount of data in this 3D environment we've created and make that look like something out of a movie and apply like cinematography rules to it. So he was talking about like recreating video camera lenses, recreating certain shots, depth of field, things like that. It's almost working backwards in a sense, like taking something big and 3D and adding these restrictions onto it. I mean, not that that's a bad thing.
I think in a way, though, you have to sort of start with these more robust systems in order to get to a point where you can manipulate these things in a virtual world. And then you have the advantages, too. Like some of the things he showed in terms of relating to depth of field, you can do things that you wouldn't be able to do with a physical lens. And that's sort of the flexibility and the advantage you have from working in a virtual space. Now, Quantic Dream isn't the only company that's thinking about these things, but they're certainly pioneering it. And Cage, obviously, he's the visionary behind this. He definitely comes across as someone who cares and thinks about a lot of this stuff and how it's going to affect us in the future. The Dark Sorcerer demo that was shown during E3, that was running on real time on a PlayStation 4. And the actors they had in there, you could really feel the emotion that they were trying to convey. Now, where that's going to go for their next title, we don't know. But what we do know is the Dark Sorcerer is another test for a game coming down the road. And personally, David Gant, the man playing the Sorcerer, he had a gigantic impact. If they can harness that and use their technology and actors to make that happen, I think there's a really bright future for what Cage is envisioning, where emotion and meaning are kind of driving a new type of game.
So then, Peter, how would that sort of experience differ from something like the Oculus Rift, which I know you went to that panel about yesterday, where instead of trying to like show you a single shot or a single frame as you would in traditional media, the Oculus just drops you right in the middle of the game and you can just look at whatever you want?
There are very different technological and artistic challenges to overcome for each of those. I think at this point, David Cage and Quantic Dream have a distinct advantage because they're presenting everything on a 2D plane. For the Oculus Rift to sort of have the impact that Palmer Luckey's envisioning, this sort of matrix-like immersion where you cannot distinguish it from reality, that's going to take a lot more work and a lot more time for us to get the systems where they're at. But I think for the time being presented a story that has an emotional impact is still valuable. And I think the two can coexist.
All right, folks, well, be sure to stay tuned to GameSpot.com for our ongoing GDC Europe and Gamescom coverage all this week.